Hi guys. So similar to what I showed you guys a few days ago when I was getting ready to lay up the canopy mold, I am now getting ready to lay up a couple of thin layers of fiberglass on top of the canopy, and that's going to then later be shaved into, carved up into the canopy frame that goes outside of the glass. And so I'm just prepping the fuse for that. As long as I've got the fuse, I might as well use it as a mold, because once I remove, you know, this all has to come off here pretty soon, and so I can get on with finishing up the cockpit. But at least for the moment, I'm going to use it as a mold and make a fiberglass frame over the top of it. So I have waxed the fuse. I put five layers of wax on it, and I'm now just shooting it with with PVA. There we go. It's just that simple. I'll put another 6 or 7 or 12 coats on there, and then we'll move on to the next step later. Okay, so I've laid on at least 10 to 15 coats, very light coats of PVA, and it kind of gives the whole canopy area a little bit of a green tinge. But that lets me know that there's a good layer of PVA on there, so whatever happens on top of the PVA should release very nicely from the fuselage rather than sticking. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to shoot some class coat flat black on to this thing, and then the purpose of that is that when I lay the fiberglass on top of this, when the fiberglass comes off, it'll already be pre-painted flat black on the inside of the canopy frame. Okay, so the purpose of this area right here is on the Dash 1A model of the Corsair. There was a cross member that ran from front to back, right at about, head level. So that's what that is. And so I'm going to finish up the other side, and we should be ready to lay up fiberglass here pretty quick. Okay, so I brought it back inside. Painting has been done, and I am currently in the middle of putting some 3/4 ounce cloth on to the canopy. This is just going to be the first layer, and I might not have mixed up enough epoxy again. But I just want to lay down a nice first layer of cloth, 3/4 ounce, and then I'll come back over the top of this with a layer of, I wanted to use 1.5 ounce cloth and then maybe another layer of 1.5 ounce cloth, but the 1.5 ounce cloth that I have is plain weave, which does not conform to compound curves particularly well. So I'll probably go after this with a layer of 3 ounce cloth, which I have in like a satin weave, which conforms very nicely. I might have to do 2 layers of 3 ounce. I'm not really sure yet. Looking at pictures of the full scale, it appears that the frame only sticks up maybe 1/8 of an inch above the surface of the glass. So it's a fairly thin, low profile, streamlined, go fast kind of low drag situation. And so if it only sticks up 1/8 of an inch on the full scale, that's 125 thousandths. This is roughly 5th scale airplane, so I should be shooting for about a 25 thousandths thick frame, which sounds about right, which I think might just be 1 layer of 3 ounce, but I'll measure it. Anyway, I'm going to have to mix up some more epoxy, and I'll keep going with this. Talk to you later. Okay, so at this point I have 1 layer of 3/4 ounce cloth on there and 1 layer of 3 ounce cloth. It might be 3.6, I don't know. Anyway, I put some mics on the 3.6 ounce cloth, and it appears to be about 3/1000ths of an inch per layer. So I'm putting another layer of 3 ounce cloth on here, and I'm having so much fun getting it to conform to the compound curve of this canopy. I thought I would just, bring you guys back and let you in on some of the fun here. This is twill weave, which is reasonably I don't know if flexible is the right word, but it conforms reasonably well to compound curves, but it still takes a bit of work to make it all happen. Stay, good boy. This is going to be fun. You just have to be patient. Keep working it down, stretching it. Stretching isn't really the right word, but pulling it down on this corner here, and then the resin will help get it to stick in place. I use just a little bit of denatured alcohol to thin the epoxy, just a little bit. For all of you out there who say that, oh, you shouldn't do that, yeah, shut up. I'm going to do it. I've been doing it for years. It works great. It doesn't make the epoxy any weaker. I would not use any kind of alcohol or any kind of thinning agent if I was doing vacuum bagging, because there's no place for the thinning agent to go. It can't evaporate, it can't dissipate, so it's just going to sit there in the epoxy and make it all weird. And I know people that do it when they do vacuum bagging, they may still use some thinning agents. I choose not to, but I do use thinning agents like the denatured alcohol for laminates and for laminating, and makes absolutely no difference whatsoever in any of the work that I've ever done, except that it makes it a whole lot easier to work with. Anyway, I got to mix up some more epoxy, and I'm gonna keep laying this down and talk to you soon. Okay, so I have finished up my little battle with the second layer of 3-ounce cloth, and so it's starting to look pretty good. And I'm just doing a little force drying, if you will. I would like for this to be good and hard. It's about noon right now, so I'd like for it to be good and hard, I don't know, within a couple hours, so I can pop it off and maybe do another one this afternoon as a spare. I need to get a few of them made, and then I can cut this thing off the damn airplane so I can get on with it. It occurred to me that I probably don't need to paint the black. In fact, I know I don't need to. But I was thinking that it would make my life a little bit easier when the time comes. The inside is already pre-painted. I have since, over the last couple hours, come to the conclusion that it doesn't necessarily make my life any easier. And part of that is because I had to clean that gun, my airbrush, and when I get ready to do the assembly and I get this frame put on the canopy and I'm just ready to go, then I'm probably going to end up having to touch up the paint anyway, in which case I'll have to clean my gun again. But my original thinking on this is that if this is already painted black, then once I get it all trimmed and it's time to glue this on top of the canopy, then the paint is not a layer that has been sprayed onto the frame. The paint is part of the frame. And so the glue that when the glue is gluing from the paint to the canopy itself, it should be a nice, firm, permanent, you know, the paint should never peel away. Anyway, that was my thinking. I think we're about done with this one. So when I get ready to pop it off, I'll bring you back. Okay, so a few hours have gone by, and this has gotten, ouch, sharp, apparently. It's gotten good and hard. So, I'm going to just bust it off of here. Now theoretically, because of all the PVA and the layers of wax that I put on, I should be able to just blast it with a little bit of air. This thing should come off. Should be 30 seconds, no big deal. See how the PVA just kind of peels off. Kind of like those protective covers that they put on glass displays. Okay, that is kind of flimsy. I don't think that will be a problem. And so we can see on the inside, it's got a really nice matte black kind of finish where the frames are, whatever. And then this is where I have tape here to protect the slots. And so this might be too thin. That is, looks like 12 thousandths. 12 thousandths. 12 thousandths. 14 thousandths. Alright, 13 thousandths. So that seems like it might be too thin. So tomorrow I'll lay up another one. I'll use some heavier cloth. This is only 2 layers of 3 ounce, 1 layer of 3/4, so call it 6 3/4, maybe 7 ounces. Maybe I need to get it up to about between 12 and 15 ounces of layup, and in order to give it an appropriate amount of thickness. And I may try that tomorrow. I do need to lay up a few more of these. I don't think that the flimsiness is actually a problem. The only question is whether or not the thickness will look right when it's on the plane. Does it need to be thicker, or I mean, I know this is thinner than the math says it should be, but even so, this feels about right to me. I suspect that when this one gets put onto a canopy, I suspect it's probably going to look exactly like it's supposed to. But even so, I'll lay up a heavier one tomorrow. But for today, we're done. That is how we lay up a canopy frame on the fuselage plug. Later.